Hey guys, a Dino Rabbit deck profile. Probably going to be a lot shorter than my Chaos Hero one, since Chaos Hero is not a very popular deck. This, on the other hand, is a pretty staple, standard deck. So, let's go through the main cards. Rescue Rabbit. Of course, the bread and butter of this deck. You summon it, you banish, special summon your 2 vanilla dinosaur monsters, your 2 normal ones, and then either go for Lagia or Dolko. Pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. It's nothing to explain it. This one is basically a solemn judgment, and this one is basically effect failure that also destroys their monster. So they're both pretty good. Most of the time you're going to be going for Lagia because solemn judgment is often better than negating effects, because Dolki can still be dark, cold, smashing, being attacked over. Whereas with Lagia, if they get something too powerful, you can just negate it. Tour Guide from the Underworld, because you can Tour Guide into Night Assailant, which is a level 3 Fiend, in fact. Tour Guide into Night Assailant, go for Levier. Where is my Levier? Levier right there. And then special summon your Banished Rescue Rabbit, and then repeat the process all over again. If not, if you needed some store with Zenmains, or Leviathan Dragon, if you want that Beast deck. And as before, as in my Chaos Hero profile, you can also run Acid Golem. But I think the disadvantage of Acid Golem prevent it from being too good of a card. Anyway, Night Assailant because it's a Tour Guide target and it's a stun deck, and it's a nice monster destruction if you need that monster to go away. For example, Chaos Sorcerer. Black Cloud Soldier would probably remove it, but if they ever attack into you, you can also destroy it. It gets rid of a problem card. Sangan, because Sangan can search for Rescue Rabbit, it can search for Effect Failure if you really need it, and it can search for any of these 3 cards too. So it's a nice card, and if worse comes to worse, you can overlay. You can also search for Spirit Reaper, Marshmallow, but I'll go into those later. Then, of course, your strongest normal monsters, your Cabazulus, a huge monster in the shape of a hippopotamus. The sneezing from his gigantic body is so fierce that people mistake him for a hurricane. So, people mistake the sneeze for a hurricane. It's a fierce dragon, or dinosaur. And a Sabersaurus, this monster, a gentle dinosaur, enjoy relaxing in its nest in the prairies. If it becomes angered, it turns terribly ferocious. Yeah. It's a ferocious card if you anger it. Most of the time, you're just going to be overlaying for Lagia, so it won't be too angry, I guess. Then you have the Jurak Wiper, which I don't think I ever got to summon any of my jewels, which was unfortunate, but Jurak Wiper is, if this card destroys opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon 1 Jurak monster with 1700 less attack from your deck, though it can't declare an attack this turn. So the main thing is they summon Tour Guide Sangan, a low attack monster, or low defense monster. You summon Guiber, attack into it. Special summon another Guiber or another or Jurak Vilo, and then main phase 2, you overlay for one of your standard dinosaurs. You could also run, if I make Hydrogeton, which is also a nice card. However, it's got 100 less attack, and it has to be another Hydrogeton, which means you can only run 3 and not another Jurak. But it can attack, but there's one other disadvantage, is that this Guiber doesn't matter where the card goes. It can go to the banish pile, it can go to the back to the deck, it might even have to leave the field if it's a token. However, for Hydrogeton, it has to send it to the graveyard. So if you have Macrocosmos on the field, for example, which I'll come into slightly a bit later, it won't activate its effect. So Jurak is the standard cards that most people use. Vilo is a decent card. It's just pretty much just there for another Guiber target, and if it's attacked and destroyed, you get to special summon your Guiber, which is nice. Guiber also works very well with Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance has 2 utilities. You can target one face monster on the field until the end phase. It loses 800 attack, but is unaffected by spell or trap cards. So if they try Torrential, you activate Forbidden Lance on your Rescue Rabbit or on one of your main other cards, your Tour Guide, for example. They try and Bottomless your Sabersauruses. Not gonna happen, though you wouldn't be able to protect both, because Bottomless actually says remove from play both monsters in brackets, so you don't be able to save one, unfortunately, but it's still one card. Maybe you need to go for that game. But the second ability is that it can reduce the opponent's monster attack by 800, so they need to get something with 2500 attack to safely attack into a Guiber. Say they summon something which has 2000 attack, you Forbidden Lance it, and then what are they going to do? They lose their monster, and you get to special summon another Guiber. Next turn, overlay for Lagia. It's a nice card. As I said, Violet. Effect failure, because firstly, it's a light target for my Blackluster Soldier, and secondly, it's a tuner, so I can go for a Stardust Dragon, Ally Justice Catasta, Scrap Dragon, or Formula Secret. I really couldn't think of what other cards I could put in here, so I kind of just filled some in. But it's just good for that sort of negation. I was thinking maybe I should replace it with a couple of Maxis instead, which probably would be better. But currently Maxi is pretty expensive. When the reprint comes out, I'll probably put in a Veiler or two. I'll probably take the Veilers out and put in a Maxi instead, because I kind of think Maxi is a bit better this format. Since though cards are effect orientated, if they summon Rescue Rabbit and you effect Veiler, they can just compulse it back, they can protect it for one turn, and they can use it again next turn. Though if you Maxi on it, if you don't know what Maxi's effect is, you can only activate one per turn, you discard it from your hand to your graveyard, so like Veiler, it's a hand trap, and every time they special summon, you get to draw a card. So they activate Rescue Rabbit's effect, you chain, you special summon, they special summon 2 Cabazulos, if they're also playing Dino Rabbit, for example, and then they overlay, so you get to go draw 2 cards. Remember, you only draw 1 card from the Cabazulos, but you draw 1 card from the Exceed Summon as well. So you go +1, and technically Lagia is only a +1, so you kind of go neutral in that if you carry Maxi, whereas Effect Veiler, though you could technically go +1, it's unlikely because they're probably going to run Protection like I do. Blackluster Soldier, because this deck has a big problem with cards which are over 2,600 attack, because your only response to anything with over 2,400 attack is either Utopia or your Gemini Pearl. Though you do carry a lot of back row, if they get rid of those back rows or you draw them too late, you can't do much. And Blackluster Soldier is an amazing card. Why would you not run it if you run all these darks anyway? We run 4 darks. So, Blackluster Soldier, a power card in anyone's eyes. Thunder King Raya, because this is a stun deck, don't get me wrong. It's a pretty good stun deck, and it has other sort of plays, but fundamentally, it is a stun deck. So, Thunder King is one of the best stun cards in the game. You can, neither players can add cards from a deck, neither players can add cards from a deck to the hand except by drawing them. So, they can't Sangan search, they can't Reinforcements of the Army search, they can't Equal search, Emergency Equal. It prevents a lot of plays, basically. And if they try and Synchro Exceed Summon, you can, Synchro Exceed Summon, you can tribute it, and it negates the summon completely. So it's like a solemn warning in that sense. It can't negate, Herit Summons, but it can negate Inherit Summons. It can negate summons that activate on their self. For example, when you Exceed Summon, that's you doing something, but activating Polymerization is different. I'll probably go into that in another video, but Thunder King is a great card. Okay. Heavy Storm, because it's Heavy Storm. Pot of Avarice, because often, as you saw, you go through your Rescue Rabbits pretty easy, pretty quickly, and pretty early on. And in fact, if you go for the Gold Sark build, you can get it even faster because you banish them, and then you either special summon them with Tour Guide Levier play, or you wait 2 turns and get it to your hand. So it's even faster with that sort of build. I don't particularly like it because I think Gold Sark can often be a dead draw, but Avarice allows you to add those dinosaurs back into your deck in case you go for a 2nd or 3rd Dino Rabbit play. Dark Hole, because it's Dark Hole. Monster Reborn, because it's Monster Reborn. And then into my Spell, Trap, and Negation lineup. Only 2 MSTs. You could be running 3 MSTs instead of one of the Lances. I just prefer this build because Forbidden Lance is a pretty nice card. I might get rid of one for MST, but they attempt to negate things and can Mirror Force. They're trying to use up your Lagia detachment on a weak card, like Book of Moon, for example. You can just Lance it, and then you become unaffected by spelling traps for that turn. And for the second utility, as well as I said, with Guaiba. So, yeah. MST, because you can just get rid of the Solemn Warning, so Solemn Judgments, just in case you haven't got any other options. You want to get out your Rescue Rabbit as safe as possible, because if you can get it out safely, you're in a very, very good position. And then my Monster Summon Negation. So I run double Bottomless, double Solemn Warning, and double Torrential. You honestly don't care about your life points too much. You can go down to 1,000. As long as you have that field presence, you're probably going to win the game. So this just negates your summon. Destroys, destroys, negates, negates, destroys, destroys. Pretty self-explanatory. Then 2-dimensional prisons, because Dark Worlds is a problem because of Grapha, and Bottomless does help with that too. And it's G-Prison. It's basically a Mirror Force. You could also run Mirror Force, but often they get a Starlight Road, things like that. I think Deep Prison is better against Elemental Shining. It prevents it from getting its effect and other things. Then Starlight Road, which I didn't draw in any of my duels, but Starlight Road is good because it allows you to overextend a lot, and it allows you, and it forces them to use even more and more resources. For example, I've got Mirror Force here. Say, for example, you summon, they activate Torrential. You Starlight Road, you get a Stardust Dragon. Now they have to get rid of Stardust Dragon, and then you probably even go for a Lagia after that as well, which is great. So it allows you to go Rescue Rabbit, and they're like, oh, I'll allow that Rescue Rabbit play through. I've got a Torrential to back me up. Summon the two vanilla monsters, your two dinosaur monsters. They activate Torrential. Oh, Starlight Road. They're back to square one. You go for a Lagia. They've got to handle a Stardust and a Lagia. Which is amazing. If you don't know what Starlight Road does, when the card effect is activated, it destroys 2 or more cards. Negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card and special summon 1 Stardust Dragon from your extra deck. Remember, however, Stardust is second effect, can be activated, but it doesn't get summoned back from the graveyard at the end of the turn because its summoning conditions were not fully met. You didn't synchro summon it properly. Then, of course, Summon Judgment because it can negate anything. And again, this is stun deck. Mind Control because sometimes you need to get rid of that problem monster. You can Mind Control their BLS and banish it. Mind Control this Chaos Sorcerer and banish himself. Go for a quick Exceed play with your level 1. Go for a quick Synchro play if you need to go for anything of that. It's a good card. Now, Compulsory is very much like Lance. It protects your monsters for that turn. And pretty much it's going to be Rescue Rabbit. They negate it for some reason. You activate Compulse, add it back to your hand. That's the standard play, but if you need to get rid of any Exceed monsters, any Fusion monsters, any Secret monsters that are a problem, Compulse is also an option. Then, the two kind of tech cards that I added, Spirit Reaper and Marshmallow. It's another light, it's another dark target for Blackluster Soldier. Marshmallow and Spirit Reaper as well, because often people can't get over these cards. They can't be destroyed in battle. This one, you can flick 1,000, and this one can be targeted and destroyed, but its secondary effect is very nice. As you saw in one of my duels, I think it was against the Wind Up and the U-Bell player, I summoned my Spirit Reaper. I summoned my Spirit Reaper. I attacked my Spirit Reaper when it attacks directly, I believe. When it attacks and inflicts battle damage, by direct attack, opponent discards 1 random card, so you get even more plus off it. And the reason I run 5 cards over 45 cards is that I really don't want to draw into these normal monsters. Yes, of course I want to draw into this Rescue Rabbit, but I think my protection is sufficient enough that I won't, and I don't want to draw, and I think the probability of drawing into these vanilla monsters is worse. Though Sabersaurus isn't bad, Cobazula is 700 attack, not the best thing. Sabersaurus can point for point with Elemental Hero Alias, point for point with opponent Thunder King. It's decent, but of course these extra 5 cards aren't too bad either. Then for the side deck, 1 more MST, 1 more Deep Prison. Then 3 Maxi, because Maxi is a great card, especially against Wind Up, and Synchro Plants, and a lot of meta. At worst, it's a neutral, because every deck's going to special summon at least once, even anti-meta decks. Then 2 gold for Dark World, because if they force you to discard it for any other reason, you get to destroy 2 cards on the field. Pretty nice. Maybe you could maybe a few more cards for Dark Worlds, but not too bad. Then Book of Moon, because say for example, they evade your, I don't know, Book of Moon is just a good card. It gets rid of things, and it's also really good with Guiber because most cards have worse defense and they do have attack. So say they summon something with good attack but bad defense, you Book of Moon it, attack over it, get a free Lagia. Mirror Force because Mirror Force, and then these kind of 5 cards I was just testing out. I didn't really get to test them out too much, but Macrocosmos is a good card against a lot of decks. Dark Worlds, Chaos Dragons are still pretty good. They're okay against Wind-Ups because they can't special summon from the graveyard as freely as they normally do. It's a good card. It just vanishes everything. Of course, you don't even need to get rid of any of your cards, to be honest, because Guiber's effect still activates. It makes your tour guides pretty good with Levia, and it doesn't make any of your cards too dead, and it also allows you to summon Helios to Primordial Sun, which can be used for a quick Exceed summon with your other level 4s if you need to, but I wouldn't recommend running the Helios too much. Then you've got your standard Evolsar Lagia, which is your Solemn Judgment, your Dolga, which is your Divine Wrath, your Effect Veiler, and Levier from your standard plays, Leviathan Dragon for the 2500, as I said, Acid Golem might be better, Zenmate if you need to stall for a bit, Utopia again for a bit of stalling, though often you'd go for Mindstroke, and Gemlight Pearl just in case you need that 2600 beta, and it's a normal monster. So you run a lot of normal monsters, maybe you can add it to the pile. Stardust Dragon for Starlight Road. I like Joseph Katasa because you run lots of level 4s and Effect Village. Maybe you need to go for that for some reason. Scrap Dragon because it's Scrap Dragon. Level 4, level 3, level 1. I don't really know. These two cards you could probably replace for anything. You could probably replace for, yeah, any other good. Maybe for another Tempo. I think this one. This one's pretty good. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach one XYZ material monster from your opponent's controls. So you basically attack into Zen means it gets rid of the material, and you gain 500 attack. You could also go for Gunman, I think it's called. Gaga, I think it's called, yeah, Gaga Gunman, which is a pretty nice 2 level 4s. Yeah, it's just generic. And then if this card, when you attack, the opponent's monster loses 500 attack and you gain 1000 attack. So it's good against, say for example, Black Cluster Soldier. They have Black Cluster Soldier. You only have 2 level 4s. Lagi is not going to get over it. Dolk is not going to get over it. Gem Knight Pearl is not going to go over it. You can summon Gaga Gunman, and then activate its effect. Reduce your Black Cluster Soldier's attack to 500 and attack into it with your 2500. So they'll be on equal attack. And the secondary effect is okay, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. It's not got bad defense. You could potentially, they only have a couple of 100 life points left. Put it in defense mode, detach next turn, and then win. So it's a pretty standard deck. It's nothing difficult to run in there. It's pretty consistent. It will do well. It will serve you well, though the better players can often play around it. Though if you get a Lagia play with 5 back row, it's difficult for any deck to get past. So here's Omni121 signing out, and also my phone's ringing.